Good evening to everyone, all the participants, and the resource person, and the Rajapalayam Rajus College Management, the Secretary, the President, the Principal, and the students and the faculty members of Rajapalayam Rajus College. I welcome one and all. It's the time to intro our chief guest, NIRIT DATTA. He is a conservationist, conservation speaker, India's first conservation tech evangelist, community builder, the founder, Environmetal, Extremist, India. And he is also an avid snake conservationist, has delivered his talk shows to 12,000 plus students, quit his corporate job to pursue his passion in wildlife. And is a video has been working, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, we have with us a very special guest, environmentalist and wildlife conservationist, NIRIT DATTA.
The big fat family car of India, Maruti Wagoner. So that was the first car that our family bought. Wildlife and environment is something where my soul lies. And we always complain about change. I thought, why not me being the change to someone who refrains from using plastic straws and plastic bags? My friend, feel free to call yourself a wildlife conservationist. Feel free to call yourself an environment. Why can't we solve our wildlife and environmental biodiversity problems using tech and innovation? So engineering has a huge role to play, and this is exactly what Maruti Suzuki is doing.
Sir, thank you, sir, and welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We can start, sir?
Yes, sir, you can, sir. You can.
Okay. Very warm good afternoon to each and everyone. Probably it's a good evening time. A very warm good evening to each and everyone present on the live now. So my name is NIRIT DATTA. I am someone who looks like 30 years old because of my beard, because of the way I speak, but I'm just a 24-year-old guy. I'm an engineer by profession, and I am pursuing my passion in wildlife and environment after quitting my job. So I'm just a common man traveling across the country, working towards wildlife and environment and teaching common man about the responsibilities towards wildlife and environment. So today we are going to talk for the next 40 to 50 minutes. It's going to be a very unique discussion because first you have to understand the motive that why we are talking. Now, whenever most of the humans, whether the news channel, whether the journalists, whether the speakers, whether the trainers, whether the wildlife people, whenever we talk about global warming, climate change, wildlife issues, wildlife encroachments, environmental hazards, we always keep on talking about the problem. Now try to understand this point very clearly. We always cry about the problems. The problems are there. We have to accept the fact that the problems that the wildlife and environment, the planet Earth is facing is human created problems. No doubts over there. But we have to realize the fact that we need to stop crying about the problem. We need to stop blaming each other. I know it's very easy to blame the government. It's very easy to blame people for the activities. Very easy to blame companies for their activities against wildlife and environment. But we, as a responsible citizen of this planet Earth, not only we should be complaining, raising our voice, but at the same time, we should be reciprocating our voice through real world activities. I see a lot of people, sharing social media posts. They share a lot of social media posts on, Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, talking about wildlife and environment. It's good to, share such posts. It's good to be a social media activist. But I maintain the fact when you share all this wildlife and environment related posts on social media, it's journalism. It's not conservation. Conservation only happens on the field, and it does not matter if you're someone who is not from the wildlife science background or biology background or environment science background. feel free to call yourself a wildlife conservationist or an environmentalist. If you're someone who doesn't throw plastic waste into the water bodies, or if you're someone who doesn't throw stones at the monkeys that visits your place in search of food, or if you're someone who cares to remove that small snake from the middle of the road, my friend, feel free to call yourself a wildlife conservationist, feel free to call yourself an environmentalist. It's our small acts of responsibilities which matters the most. So you have to understand this fact. See, on the live session, there are going to be a lot of students, there are going to be a lot of faculties, there are going to be a lot of principal. I want you to make sure that once the session is over, you implement each and every of those things that I'm going to speak. And whatever I'm going to speak is my experience in the past 8 years, especially in the past 2 years after I quit my high-paying job. And you have to understand this fact that wildlife and environment is a thankless job. You shouldn't be expecting anything in return while you're working towards wildlife and environment. And please get this thing inside your head that you're not doing this for the benefit of planet Earth. If you are working towards conservation efforts for protecting, wildlife and environment, we are indirectly protecting us, because evolution, my friend, even if global warming increases, climate change has its own effects, we keep on killing animals, Earth has its own way of mending things. Just the fact that by 2050, the Earth won't be a habitable place for we humans. I'll just share you a very interesting fact. Between the year 1980 to 2000, the average life expectancy used to be around 74. That means the average life of humans on planet Earth used to be 74. But between the year 2000 to 2020, the average life expectancy of humans on planet Earth is, guess what? It's 61. Why? Earlier, people used to, on an average, used to survive for 74 years on planet Earth. And now humans are surviving on an average of 61 years. Why? The climate change, the global warming, the environmental encroachments, everything has indirect impact on we humans. There is going to be a lot of health impact. There is going to be a lot of, economical impact. A lot of things are going to follow. Nothing is powerful than Mother Nature on this planet Earth. If we think that we are someone who is rulers of planet Earth, we are wrong. What if I make an elephant stand right in front of you? What if I make a tiger stand right in front of you and you are without a gun? Let's see who is the king of the earth. So first, let's get these things outside our head that we humans are the masters of planet Earth. That's a wrong thing. And when you're working towards conservation, you're not working to save planet Earth. You're working to save the human race, because planet Earth has its own way of giving you a response. The coronavirus is probably the biggest example. You play around with the elements, the forces of nature, you're going to bear the brunt. I hope everybody knows about Newton's third law of motion. For every reaction, there is always going to be opposite and equal reaction. I mean, for every action, there is going to be opposite and equal reaction. So the biggest reason why I have started conducting this particular webinar on this particular topic of community building is you have to realize the fact that the world doesn't have Avengers. The world doesn't have a Batman. The world doesn't have an Iron Man. The world doesn't have, a Hulk. The world doesn't have any superhero that they are going to come out of the blue and save the planet Earth from destruction. That is not going to happen. So when I talk about destruction, it's not a one-man game. You're not a Salman Khan of Bollywood movie that you're going to beat up one person and 5 people are going to fly, 20 people are going to fly. Or, you see in the movies of South Indian movies, the hero is hitting a villain, all the 10 villains are flying. That is not possible in the real. So when it comes to conservation efforts, it always has to be a team game. Always has to be a family working together for a common goal. Now, just simple example. Now, if I ask you to clap with a single finger, sound is minimum. Now, if I ask you to clap with 2 fingers, the sound has increased a bit. Now, if I ask you to clap with 3 fingers, then 4 fingers, then 5 fingers, the highest impact is when you're clapping with 5 fingers. So my point is, there is no point working as a one-man army towards conservation. You need to build communities. You need to build team. Now understand this fact. Try to understand this fact. This is a very critical point to all the students and faculties watching this live. I just try to understand this critical fact. The world doesn't, when it comes to volunteers for wildlife and environmental conservation, there are millions of volunteers ready to volunteer for wildlife and environmental conservation based activities. What the world lacks is a leader. There is a huge difference between a volunteer leader. A volunteer is someone who will work for 7 to 8 days or 10 days or 20 days a year towards wildlife. A leader is someone who is going to work on a consistent basis. A leader is someone who leads from the front. A leader is someone who inspires others. A leader is someone who tries to breed more and more humans. A leader is someone who builds a team. A leader is someone who doesn't expect but is the change. So it is very important. It is very important to build communities. Now, if I give you, for example, I ask you to plant 500 trees in the next 10 days, it's going to be very tough for you. But what if you 30 people to plant 500 trees in 10 days? Not only you are able to plant trees efficiently in 10 days, you are also able to educate and breed more and more wildlife and leaders when people work with you. Now, being a leader, see, when you're working with environmental activities, try to get this fact inside the brain. I've worked with a lot of NGOs. I've been into a lot of NGO activities. I've met a lot of people in the past 8 years. One thing that I've figured out in the country is ego and attitude issues. You'll see a lot of big NGOs, after starting off in a very good note, they break apart because there are ego issues in the company. People wants to gain power. They want to gain fame. Try to understand. When you're working towards wildlife and environment, it does not discriminate you on the basis of your caste, creed, sex, religion, and nationality. We are all on the same page and we have to work together. So it is very important to build a community. Now, what is a community? What exactly it does? It's nothing. Now, if I ask you to build a community, that means in the next 3 months, you are going to build a team of 1,000 people. In the next 3 months, you're going to build a team of 1,000 people who work towards environment and wildlife-based projects in the next 1 year. That is community. You need to build a community. And I'll just share you 2 quick projects of mine. We are going to keep this session very, very crisp here and short, because when you're going on a live session, long sessions tends to be very boring. So by the end of the session, I'm going to impact certain questions inside your brain that once this session is over, you're going to ask yourself, what did I speak? You're going to question yourself and you have to work towards it. It's very easy to sit back home and watch the news TV and watch the paper, watch the social media and cry about all the bad things happening with nature, planet Earth, and wildlife and environment. But who is going to take the action? It is us who have to take the action. And it's not going to be a journey of 1 year. It's not going to be a journey of 2 years. It's going to be a journey of the next 10 to 15 or 20 years. This is what I mean by being a wildlife and environmental leader. Now, in the past 2 years, I've successfully implemented 2 mega projects across the country that went viral, highly successful, and those were very unique projects and never done before in the past in our country. And I can proudly say that in the past 2 years, I have been able to breed 100 plus wildlife and environmental leaders. See, I have a team of 2,000 plus people across the country. I can proudly say I have a team of 2,000 people across the country, but majority of them are volunteers. But I can proudly say out of this 2,000 people, I have been able to successfully breed 100 wildlife and environmental leaders who are going to be like me. And when you are a leader, when you are leading a team, when you're having a team, get this crucial fact inside your brain. It's very important. When you are a leader, the team, the people are not going to work under you. They are not going to work for you. They are going to work with you for the planet Earth. There is a huge difference. Me working under you and me working with you has a huge difference. And there is a very thin line that separates a boss from a leader. A boss is someone who's going to tell you that you are working under me, you're bloody working under me. Do what I ask you to do. No arguments. That's a boss. But the leader is someone who will tell you that you are working with me. I am open to your opinions. I'm open to your suggestions. And we are going to work together and pull off things. This is leadership. Don't be a boss, be a leader. And when it comes to India, India lacks leaders. People are running towards fame. People are running towards money. People are running towards getting published on newspapers, even by planting just a single tree on the forest. That is what is happening in the country. The country lacks leaders. I'm very sad to say, but the country lacks leaders. So, time to discuss the two projects with you. And in the course of the next 20 minutes, be very attentive. Be very attentive because it's going to be a very interesting discussion, right? So, the first project that I pulled off was the cafe project in the year 2019. And I did this project with 30 people. And guess what? Out of this 30 people, 29 people were those people whom I have never met physically in my whole life. We know each other through social media platforms. We discussed about wildlife and environment. We became friends. We did networking. And we decided to work together. So the first project was a cafe project. Now just try to understand, on an average, every year in India, a cafe is a place which serves food and drinks and beverages, right? You know, cafes, food joints. On an average, a cafe uses a minimum of 1 lakh plastic straws and 80,000 plastic bags yearly. One single cafe in India on an average use 1 lakh plastic straws and 80,000 plastic bags in a year. And there are more than 5 million food joints across India. You do the calculation. Let me give you a very interesting fact. 5 plastic straws are enough to kill a turtle in a sea. 5 plastic straws are more than enough to kill a turtle in a sea. 10 plastic straws is equivalent to a medium-sized plastic bags. 10 plastic straws are equivalent to 1 medium-sized plastic bag. So just imagine one cafe is such a huge impact on the environment through the disposal of non-recyclable, non-disposable plastic materials. And in the end, what happens? Where does this plastic straws and the plastic bags go? It goes into the oceans. And what we do? We share photos on the social media showing people how concerned we are towards wildlife and environment. My goodness, God is going to come from the heaven and protect us. That is not going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not going to happen. God is nature, nature is God. Try to get this fact inside your head. Now, one cafe giving out 1 lakh plastic straws and 80,000 plastic bags on an average every year. What we did, we decided to get tied up to 51 cafes. So to my team, I gave a target of getting tied up to 30 such food joints or cafes across India. Guess what? In the next 1 month, we decided to carry out this experimental project for 1 month. And in the next 1 month, the team, the people who are working together, our team of 60 people, initially we started off with 30 people, then we grew to 60 people in the next 5 days through word of mouth marketing. So in short, a team of 60 people in the next 1 month, guess what? We got tied up to 51 food joints. We got tied up to 51 food joints. We signed a deal with them, And the deal was that they are not going to use plastic straws and plastic bags from today. And they said yes. So initially, it's not going to happen. See, a lot of cafes are going to be okay with the project, but a lot of cafes are going to say no. It's upon you, it's upon your leadership qualities to convince the cafe and the food joint owner to say yes and to opt for sustainable way of operation. So we managed to convince 51 food joints or cafes, and they decided to stop using plastic straws and plastic bags. But there was an issue. Plastics and plastic bags are quite cheap in the market, right? But when it comes to having paper straws and paper bags, they're not easily available. And when they're available in the market, what happens? They are quite costly. So 100 rupee packet of paper straw is going to have around 40 or 50 paper straws. But 100 rupees packet plastic straws is going to have more than 140 plastic straws. So of course people will go for economy, right? They want to save some money at the cost of what? At the cost of environment. So what a suggestion that I gave them is, if you are giving a paper bag, if you're giving a paper bag or a cloth bag, when somebody is taking a delivery from your food joint, for example, I don't want to sit in the cafe and have my food. I want to deliver, I want to just get the food parcel. So I'm going to charge that 5 rupees extra for packaging. I'm going to charge that 5 rupees extra for packaging, right? If somebody is shelling out 400 rupees in a cafe to have the food, I think 5 rupees is nothing, boss. 5 rupees is nothing, right? And when it comes to paper straws, for God's sake, if you're drinking a coffee, if you're drinking a tea, if you're drinking cold drink, if you're drinking a lemonade, for God's sake, you don't need a straw. You're not a baby that you need a straw to suck through the drink. That's quite weird. You're not a baby. Now, see, I have a beard, I have a mustache. When I drink a coffee or when I drink any type of beverage, all the beverage sticks to my beard, it sticks to my mustache. I have a lot of issue, but still I drink it without a straw. But there are going to be a lot of beverages like thick shakes that needs a plastic straw. So you can use a paper straw, but yes, you can't use a plastic straw. You have to use a paper straw, right? So not only the cafes stopped using plastic straws and plastic bags, they started using paper straws and paper bags and started educating their customers about the importance of sustainable lifestyle. And at the same time, what our team did was, we got these cafes connected to the manufacturers. This is a very important point. We got this cafe owners with whom we signed a deal. We got them connected to the manufacturers of paper straws and paper bags, and not the dealers. So the manufacturer is going to give you at a very cheap rate, because you're directly going to procure the materials from the manufacturing unit. But what happens with a dealer? When a middleman comes inside, he's called the dealer. So I'm going to buy a packet of paper straw from the manufacturer for 80 rupees and I'm going to sell it to you for 120 rupees. So we are removing the concept of a middleman, right? So we got them connected to the manufacturers of paper straws and paper bags, and they started getting all these materials in cheap. Now, one cafe is responsible for 1 lakh plastic straws every year. Do the calculation. 51 lakh plastic straws. Our team had an impact. The impact was, we stopped the use of 51 lakh plastic straws in a single year. 80,000 plastic bags into 51 cafes. You do the calculation. This is the impact that our team members had, and this is the impact that we created. This is the impact that a team of 60 members created over a span of 1 month of activity. And thus, for the next 1 year, we stopped around 51 lakh, that is 5 million. We stopped 5 million plastic straws from getting disposed into the environment. We stopped around 4.2 million paper bags or plastic bags. We stopped 4.2 million plastic bags from getting disposed into the environment. This is what you called building a community. This is what you call building a team. This is what you call leadership. And this is what you called community-based projects. Now you have to understand this fact that we humans are like monkeys. We humans are like monkeys. Of course, we don't do something like this. We don't, that monkey does. We don't do like this. But we have the behavioral traits of a monkey. whatever we see other people doing, whatever I see my friend doing, if I get impacted psychologically, I'm going to copy. A lot of time it does happen, when I go to have, coconut water. I love coconut water, right? But majority of the people, I will say 95% of the people have coconut water using a plastic straw, right? But I drink the coconut water without a plastic straw, right? So a lot of my friends, I'll say more than 20 people, with whom I've drunk coconut water, majority of them have asked me, boss, how is it possible? Let me try. And now I can say more than 20 people, friends of mine, drink coconut water without using a plastic straw. They're just monkeys. They saw me doing it, they got impacted, they tried it, they loved it, they are doing it, they're practicing it. So when you're working towards wildlife and environment, when you're carrying out conservation activities, you have to understand the fact that a lot of people are going to watch you on social media. A lot of people are going to watch you on the real world, and they are going to get impacted. My friend, they are going to get impacted, and they are going to learn from you. We are all scared about the coronavirus, but conservation, I consider conservation as a virus. I want this virus to spread across the world. Conservation should be like a virus. It should be spreading, spreading, and spreading. You're going to find a lot of people who are going to laugh at you. Why, Macha, what are you doing planting trees? Huh? Arey, use plastic bag. Huh? Why using paper bag? They're going to make fun of you. But being a leader, being a conservationist, it's your responsibility that with time, you have to change the mindset. You have to educate them. Things are not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be any magic that Jesus is going to come from the top and he's going to bless us almighty. No, it's not going to happen. It takes time. It takes time. Now, the second community project that I'm going to discuss, it was a bit of shock for me, and it's one of the closest projects to my heart because, I had majority of my team members were from the state of Tamil Nadu, the state of Telangana, the state of Kerala, right? And we decided to start off with a team of 100 people. I built a community of 100 people. Now, see, I always throw a challenge on myself. Whenever I get a project done, I always build a new community. I don't use the existing community. So I have a different way of working. So if I built a community once, then I can bet on my life that out of the number of members, 50% of the community members are going to be leaders and they're going to start their own movement. And I can proudly say that there are around 15 to 20 people in my community who have started their own wildlife and environmental conservation based projects. And I'm very happy about that, right? So every time I get a project, then I always build a new community. Of course, some core members are always common on the communities, the core members, people who are like me, the core community members. So the second project was the project Lights Out. Now get this thing, inside your head. We humans are show off. We are just show off, right? And every year there comes a day we celebrate as Earth Day. Big environmental organizations, big companies, big colleges, big schools, big celebrities. They all do show off. Now, what the show off is all about? I don't want to take any name. I'm not afraid. Even if I take the name, they can't do anything, right? But still, I don't want to take the name. But at the end of the day, what they do on Earth Day? So every on Earth Day, what they decide to do is they turn off the electricity of their home for 15 minutes and then soup. They click photos, they create videos, puts them on social media platforms. I have celebrated the Earth Day. I have turned off the electricity for 15 minutes. That's stand-up comedy for me, boss. In 365 days, you're turning off the electricity for 15 minutes just for the sake of Earth Day. What do you think? Do you need Father's Day to celebrate your father for a single day in a year? You need the Mother's Day to celebrate your mother for a single day in a year? I don't. That's a crappy idea for me. I find all these celebrations vague. Even I don't enjoy my birthday. Every day is a birthday for me. Every day I enjoy my life. I live my life to the fullest, no matter what happens in my life. Similarly, you don't need a single day to celebrate and work towards wildlife, earth, and environment. That's quite vague. Get this thing inside your head. So what we decided to do, that we are going to turn off the electricity for 15 minutes, but not for one day. We are going to turn off the electricity for 15 minutes for the next 15 days, and we are going to put it across all social media platforms. Now, I always tell you that social media platform is not enough, but it's a very powerful tool. Now, guess what? We started off this movement with 60 people, 60 core members. We started off with this movement with 60 core members, but guess what? The first 3 days we went so viral that in the next 4 days of the project, we were at 1200 plus members strong across the country. We were at 1200 members strong for the project in the next 4 days, from 60 members to 1200 members. And every member's turning off the electricity for 15 minutes for the next 15 days, putting out, creating stories, clicking photos, making videos, and putting out on their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn platforms for the next 15 days. Now just imagine you as a common man watching your friend on social media. Every day you're watching their Instagram and Facebook, and you see them putting out stories about turning off the electricity. You're going to think, "Arey macha, this guy is so foolish. Why is he turning off the electricity?" But there will be a point of time that you're going to text him and ask him, "Boss, what are you doing? Why you are doing?" And then the leader of the community is going to respond to you that this is why we are doing. Now, the fact is that instead of switching off the electricity for 15 minutes just on the Earth Day, we turn off the electricity for 15 minutes for the next 15 days. Now, why we did it for the next 15 days is, according to human psychology, to gain a habit, to imbibe a habit inside you, you need to do that particular activity for the next 10 days. Now, if I have to get up early at 6 a.m. in the morning, on a minimum basis, I have to make sure that anyhow, by waking up alarm, by asking my mom to throw some water on my face, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning for the next 10 days. And after that, you'll see you will not even need an alarm. You'll wake up all by your own at 6 a.m. because you imbibe that habit inside you. You take up that habit inside you. So human psychology says that in order to imbibe a habit inside you, in order to gain a habit, in order to pick up a habit, you need to carry out the same activity for the next 10 days. And our team members did it for a team of 1200 people across the country, communicating through a WhatsApp group. Nobody have met ever each other. We decided to turn off the electricity for 15 minutes for the next 15 days. And guess what? We managed to conserve 98,350 minutes of electricity over 15 days. 98,350 minutes of electricity for the next 15 days that we managed to conserve. Now, this is not the only impact of the project. To all the members who have worked in the project, they have already picked up this habit of turning off the electricity. Now, if they are going somewhere else and they see that the light is turned on, their mind, their heart is going to tell them, bloody switch off the light. If the fan is turned on unnecessarily, their mind and their heart is going to bloody tell them, turn off the electricity. Because they carried out this project for the next 15 days and they developed their habit inside them. Wherever they go, they find any electrical equipment turned on unnecessarily without any requirement, they're going to turn it off because they've already got this habit. This is the example of a community-based project, my friend. You can't be a one-man army. You can't be a Batman. You're not God. Kabhi-kabhi ऐसा लगता है कि अपुन ही भगवान है. This only is possible in movies. But अपुन भगवान नहीं है. अपुन इंसान है. और अपुन ही इस दुनिया को ध्वंस कर रहे हैं. अपुन ही इस दुनिया को बर्बाद कर रहे हैं. We are destroying the planet Earth. और ठीक कौन कर सकता है? अपुन ही इसको ठीक कर सकता है. कोई नहीं ठीक कर सकता है. So, as I've stated, it can't be a one-man army game. You have to build communities. Now, for example, if you are a student, take a target in the next 3 months. Build a team of 200 people in your state. If you are a principal of a college, if you're a teacher, take a target of making a club college. Take a target of making a club team. Take a target of building a team from your own campus, from your own students of 300, 400 people. Carry out 4 to 5 projects across the next 1 year. If you need help, I'm going to help you out. You get in touch with me on my social media platform. I'm going to mentor your team. I don't charge anything for my wildlife and environmental activities. If you need my help, I'm going to train your team over a webinar. I'm going to give them leadership skills. I'm going to do a training session for them. I'm going to do it. But take the step. Even if it's an imperfect action, make sure you take the first step. It's very important to take the first step. The biggest problem of we human is we think about the result. We think about the result without even taking any action. You can't always be successful, but unless you're not failing. What do you think? Am I perfect? No. A lot of time I've committed mistakes. I've received big failures in my life, but it is through the failures that I've learned. And I'm very happy about the fact that I've faced those failures. Had I not faced those failures, I wouldn't have been at the position I am today. You have to understand this fact, my friend. Whenever you set out to create a community, to work on wildlife projects, to work on environmental projects, the biggest problem you're going to have in your mind is funding. The biggest problem you're going to have in your mind is convincing people. The biggest problem that you're going to have in your mind is convincing the people to work consistently for the next 3 months on the project and get the project done. And the biggest question you're going to ask yourself is whether, boss, I'm going to able to complete this project or not. Let me be very honest. When I carry out this project, I lose my sleep. The reason I'm wearing this hat is I've lost my hair because of excessive stress. Even I'm 24 years old. I don't even know that I'm going to get a beautiful lady to marry me in the future or not because I've lost my hair. But if you think that I won't be able to do it, you already lost even before you started. It's very important to plan, to have the right people to work with you, work along you, build a team, and take the first step. The easiest project, build a team of 100 people. Take a target of planting 1,000 trees in the next 2 months. It is possible. Get in touch with the wildlife and the forest department. They have nurseries. They are going to give you the saplings for 5 rupees or 6 rupees. Even they can give you a sapling for free. Get it planted. Drop proposal to big companies, drop proposal to the government. Your first 10 emails, your first 10 funding proposals are going to be rejected, but you have to keep on dropping emails till you get a response. Nowadays, if a youngster drops an email to a person asking for funding or asking for support, or if we drop a proposal to the government or government authorities or to the police asking for support, and if there is a rejection, there is no response, we get dejected. Boss, they have not responded to us. Now tell me one thing. If you text a girl on social media and she does not respond to you back, what do? You keep on texting her. That's wrong, but still you keep on texting her. If one girl rejects you, you search for another girl or you search for another boy, right? I hope you understand this example. You don't stop your action, right? So even if you're receiving failures, even if you're receiving rejections, even if you're getting laughed at, just remember why you started and just remember your vision. With time, when you start doing activities, people are going to follow your footsteps. They are going to join you when they see you work. So being a leader, it's very important that you have to be the most hardworking member of the community as well as the smartest member in the community. So I've briefed you about the 2 community-based projects that I've done in the past 2 years that has been very critical, very unique, and has never been done in the past. And I can proudly say through my heart that I have been able to breed 100 plus wildlife and environmental leaders from across the country. I'm very proud about that. And now in the next 1-2 years, these leaders are going to form their own communities and get the wildlife and environmental projects done. That is my vision. And I want you to do it as well. Now, we are almost at the end of the session, and I'll just give you a very small example before we start off with the question and answer session. Once there was a project, and it was called the California Project. I hope all of you know where California is. It's not in Pakistan, it's in US. So they decided to carry out a project called the California Project. Now get this thing, understand this thing inside your brain. It's very critical. They created a huge artificial man-made land in the middle of the sea, out of nowhere. It was of the size of the whole of Tamil Nadu. They created an artificial land, a man-made land over there. They introduced each and every aspect of environment over there. They introduced the trees, they introduced humans, they introduced the bees, the birds, tigers, the elephants, the lions, the earthworms, the mosquitoes, everything. Everything, most of the creatures found on planet Earth were introduced in that land. So the first experiment was, in the first 2 years, the humans were made to carry out agriculture in that land. And the agricultural productivity was very high. They were producing, huge quantities of rice, wheat. Now, the first experiment that they carried out was, they removed the whole bee population from that region. The first experiment that they carried out was, they removed the whole bee population from that region. The whole bee population, bee, zoom, madhumakhi jise hum kehte hai, bee. They removed the whole bee population from that region. Whenever a bee or a wasp comes to our home, we take out our chappals and throw at it and kill it, because we think it can come and sting us. Come on, they are bees, they are not humans. They're not like your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend that they're going to come and harm you without any reason. You might be thinking that bee is a small creature, and how does it matter to the humans whether it's living or whether it's dead? So the first experiment, the California experiment, was they wiped out the whole bee population from that region. And guess what? In the next 1 year, the agricultural productivity went down by 53%. The agricultural productivity went down by 53%. That means if the farmers over there were producing 100 kgs of rice annually, now they will be producing 47 kgs of rice. Hence, the agricultural productivity went down. And why? Because bees are one of the most important agents of pollination. In the next year, they introduced back the bees and they wiped out the whole snake population from that region. A lot of time we see snakes and kaboom, we kill the snake. Again, it's a disrespect for the snakes when we term humans as snake. They are not going to come out of the blue and bite you until and unless you don't step on them. It's not going to happen. I've rescued over 450 plus snakes in my entire year. I've never been bitten by a snake. I've seen snakes. Even if I sit in front of a cobra, the cobra will move away from me. It won't bite me, because to the snakes, we are not a foot to them. We are a source of danger to them. They will always try to move away from us. And we have to understand the art of coexistence. If a snake is living around us, we have to allow it to live around us, because it's their place that we have snatched away to build our home. So the second experiment was, they wiped out the whole snake population from the region, and guess what happened? The agricultural productivity went down by 42%. That means if the farmers were producing 100 kgs of rice, now they will be producing 58 kgs of rice, because snakes eat away all the pest and the rodent that affects the crop. It helps in controlling the rodent population in your agricultural field. I hope now you understand how we humans are dependent on each and every aspect of planet Earth and Mother Nature. And hence, it is very important to be a leader. It's good to be a volunteer. It's very important for you to be a leader. Start building a community. Start coming up with project ideas on wildlife and environment, and start getting those projects done. Because just imagine if you have a team of 100 people, and over the course of 1 year of activities, I can bet on your face that if you have a team of 100 people and you're working consistently, hard working for the next 1 year, more than 200 people are going to join your community on a minimum basis when they see you work. You don't even have to approach other people and tell them, can you work with us, please? No, you don't have to do that. Other people, the strangers, are going to watch your team members, your team. They're going to get inspired and they're going to join you. This is what has happened with us in my past 8 years. I hope everybody can do like this. I'm always there to help you out. I'm always there to help mentor all the people who want to build communities, come up with project ideas. I'm there to help you out all the time. Feel free to get connected to me. But the most important thing is, you have to take the first step to build your community. You see this thing? That's a mobile phone. I'm very sad about the fact that it's a Chinese mobile phone. I really want to break it, but I have no other option. But jokes apart, everything can be done through this. All the community-based projects that I've explained to you, the cafe project and the 15 days electricity project, all the projects that I've explained to you that I've done in the past 2 years, guess what? These projects have been done just through this phone. I needed two things: a good internet connection and a WhatsApp group for communication. That's it. The power is there right in your hand. Take the phone, dial certain calls, discuss about projects, form the first 10 initial team members, approach other people, build your community in the next 3 days of 100 people, and start the work. That's it. I have been working consistently for the past 8 years. I am very active on social media for the past 3 years. And guess what? 200 plus members have joined my community. 200 plus people in the past 2 years have joined my community just by watching my work on social media platforms. When they saw me working so hard, they decided to work with me. Again, they did not decide to work under me. They decided to work with me. So after the session is done, I hope I have been able to plant a lot of questions inside your head. After the session is done, think about it. I'm always there to help you out. Take up this phone, dial certain numbers, discuss projects with your friends, with fellow faculties, with fellow students, build your community, build a team, build a one big family, an alpha family, and start working on wildlife and environmental based projects. Last but not the least, I want to end this session by saying it's not going to be a one-man army game. You have to build a team. You have to form a one big family. In the end, we are going to start off with the question and answer session. You're going to drop all your questions on the comment section. I'm going to respond to them for the next 20 minutes. But before that, I'll just tell you one thing. Always make sure that you are not allowing your wildlife and environmental activities or affection get affected by your political views. Never allow your political views to affect your wildlife and environmental based activities. I'll warn you. It does not matter to me, boss, if Narendra Modi is the prime minister, or Rahul Gandhi is the prime minister, or Rajnikant is the prime minister, or Mahendra Singh Dhoni is the prime minister. If somebody is the prime minister of the country, that means we, the citizens of the country, have voted him to be the prime minister. If somebody is the prime minister of the country, we have to take pride in our prime minister. If somebody is the prime minister of the country, we have to support the prime minister if he's trying to do something good for the country. But if the prime minister of the country, if the government of the country is doing certain things that is impacting the wildlife and environment, the biggest example is the EIA draft 2020. Even if I'm a supporter of that particular party in power, I'm not going to support that party if their activities is wrong, is going against the environment. I personally support a lot of activities of the current government. I am in support of a lot of activities of the current government. They have done a brilliant job. At the same time, they have carried out a lot of activities, a lot of policies that are absurd. I don't want to name those policies. It's my personal views. But there are a lot of 5-6 policies by the government that I'm totally against it. I am a rational and a critical thinking guy. If I am supporting a particular government, a particular party, I'll make sure I'm not a blind supporter. I'll stand up with them if I feel that something they're doing is good for the country, but I'll stand up against them if I feel what they're doing is wrong. That is what a responsible citizen does. Stop getting biased with your political views and let it affect your wildlife and environmental activities. Right? A lot of time it's going to come in your future that you want to carry out a lot of wildlife and environmental based activities, but you see your government not taking any active decisions or good decisions and taking all the bad decisions that goes against the health of the nature. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? When government decided to implement the CAA and the NRC, the Citizen Amendment Bill, the whole of JNU stood up. The whole of Jamia stood up. Shaheen Bagh stood up. The whole country stood up against the decision, right? It's okay. India is a democratic country. Everybody has the right to voice their opinions. It's completely fine. But overnight, when the government decided to carry out projects in eco-sensitive zones, wipe out the forests, implement the EIA 2020 draft, how many citizens of the country stood up against it? How many Jamia stood up against it? How many JNU students stood up against it? How many people in the Shaheen Bagh stood up against it? Tell me. Never make the politicians your father or mother. They are the elected representatives of the country. We have elected them. They are over there to serve us. So also make sure, my friend, that even if you're supporting a political party, just make sure that if they are doing something wrong against the environment and wildlife, you should be having that guts to speak up against it. Never be biased, because wildlife and environment is one such place that does not bias you on the basis of your caste, creed, religion, sex, nationality, religion. That's all from my side. So time for question and answer session. To all the people who have a lot of questions in your mind, drop your questions on the comment section. In the next 20 minutes, we are going to have a one-on-one interaction where I'm going to solve all your questions, doubts, and queries. Sir, you can take over from here. You can show your screen on the webinar.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Yes,
Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Sir,
So
I am going to show my questions from the participants.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, this is the first question that we have from Young Scientists Learn and Explore. So how is population growth having negative impact on natural resources? Of course, population is going to grow. Population is going to grow. Hold on for a second. So is my internet connection okay?
Okay, sir. Now it's okay.
Okay. So yeah. So population growth is of course going to have an impact on natural resources, right? So now the thing is, the human population is not going to go down. Of course, the human population is not going to go down, but at the same time, the government needs to make policies. Every government in the world needs to make policies that you can't produce more than 5 or 6 kids or 3 kids or 4 kids, 1 kid or 2 kid, depending on your income or depending on any other parameter set by the government, right? I'm not an expert to comment critically on it, but there needs to be some certain parameters set which is going to decide that how many kids you can have in the future. So of course you can't decrease the population, but this is where sustainable living comes into play. Even if the population increases, there is something called sustainable living, that the way you're leading a lifestyle, the impact on the environment is going to be minimal. The impact on the environment is going to be minimum. Recently, a week back, the Microsoft announced that their zero carbon emission is zero now. So the carbon emission, the net carbon emission of the whole Microsoft organization, that includes all their office spaces across the world, is zero. That's called sustainable living. That means whatever natural resources or whatever resources are utilizing from planet Earth, they're giving it back, right? So population growth is something that is not in our hand, but yes, sustainable living is something. Sustainable development is something that is very much important. A small example: you go to the big hotels, you go to the big, big posh food chains, you see the taps over there. The taps are automated. It has infrared sensors, right? If somebody is not there in front of the tap is not going to flow. And you will see a lot of places in your schools, in your colleges, that you go to the washroom and you see the tap is already flowing. The tap water is already flowing because somebody might have forgotten to close the tap. This is sustainable living. Solar power plants, that's sustainable living. It is going to take time for every country, but effort needs to be there. But the only way the effort can be put is by voicing your opinions vocally over social media platforms, asking the governments, filing RTIs. This is very important. Hence population growth is very hard to control at the moment, but in order to tackle its consequences, sustainable development and sustainable living is something that needs to be practiced. Now, coming to the next question from Sangram K. Shri Pandey. Sorry, it's panda. Why in the Wildlife Act there is no rule to shoot? So, am I audible to you? Am I audible to you, sir?
Audible, sir. Now it's audible. No problem.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Sangram, it's a brilliant question from you. Now, this is the same particular question I always ask myself and ask a lot of a lot of people who are lawyers. And the answer that I get is it's not easy to change an amendment in an act. Of course, it can be done by the government, but for that you also need to have educated people in the government, right? It's very important to have educated people in the government. Hence, next time when you're having election in your place, don't vote a candidate on the basis of his party. Vote a candidate on the basis of his education. Now, if I am a supporter of BJP and in West Bengal, if the candidate standing from my constituency is from TMC, so for example, if I support BJP, for example, and there are two candidates in the election from my constituency in West Bengal, one is from TMC and one is from BJP, but I see that the candidate from TMC is a very well-educated person, graduated from Harvard, or that person have done something big in his life, I'm going to bloody vote for him. Don't think about the government, which government should come into power. No. First, vote the right candidate from your constituency, the right government will come into power. So it's very important to have educated people in the community, right? And at the same time, you're talking about this, if you're shooting a dog, or any stray animal, the maximum penalty that you're going to face is ₹50. Just imagine, if we all know about our sister Nirbhaya, who was brutally raped. It took 7 years for her family to finally get justice. It took 7 years for her family to get justice. Of course, there is some, lack of, proper system in our judiciary of the country. And there is also lack of good environmental and wildlife lawyers in the country. You can file PILs, right? Who can file PILs. So of course, yes, it's something that I always ask myself, but for that, we need good lawyers in the country. We need very good, educated people in our political scenario. So that is something that is very much required, and it can't happen overnight. It will take time. Dr. M. Kanagasabapathi, I'm very sorry about, I might have pronounced your name wrong, but you have written excellent and mind-kindling session. I have two questions. Thank you, sir, so much for your kind words. I'm very pleased. And how do we join in a community? Please share it, sir. So I don't want you to join my community. I'm not going to allow you to join my community. No. Yes, if you want to work with me, with our team, I will be more than happy. I'm going to be more than happy. I'm ready to help you a lot, but I want you to build your own community. That is what I want. I don't want my community to grow, but I want my community to be the reason that other communities are growing. So I would definitely love to have you as a very important member of my community, but at the same time, our community members are going to make sure that we are going to help you build your community. I'm always there. Be in touch with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. I'm more active on Instagram. Or you can have a word with the host. You can have a word with sir, and you can get my WhatsApp number. Let's get connected over a call after the session, and I'm going to help you out with it. Okay. The second question is, in your perspective, which area should be given priority besides plastic elimination and carbon dioxide reduction? Awareness and education. Wildlife education, environmental education in the country lacks big time. I'll tell you certain interesting incident. Never in my school life was I ever taught that the meat industry, the goat, the cow, the beef, the pig, the birds that we eat, never in my life, in my school life, in my college life, did I ever know that the meat industry is the second biggest contributor to global warming and climate change. Yes, you heard it right. A lot of people might be surprised. A lot of people might be, making fun of the vegan people who are vegan, who only have plant-based diet life. I'm not a vegan, but I'm on my way to become a vegan. But the meat industry is the second biggest contributor to global warming and climate change. The meat you eat. I never knew about it nobody taught to me in school and college. I learned it through a friend. Until and unless you don't have the knowledge, until and unless nobody gives you the vision that why you are needed for wildlife, environment, nature, and planet Earth, nobody's going to work towards planet Earth and Mother Nature, and we human race are going to get affected. Hence, the next biggest priority that I personally give is wildlife and environmental education through my talk shows. What I'm exactly doing right in front of you. That is what I believe in. Yes, sir. SA Forever writes, I'm here in Saudi Arabia working in International Indian School, Jeddah, CBSE affiliated, sir. I'm so much interested in environmental conservation, but how to start, sir? What should be the first step? The first step is, first of all, get connected to me. Again, I am going to say get connected to me, right? Get connected to me on my social media platform or my WhatsApp number. Okay, I'm going to drop my... Sir, you can drop my WhatsApp number on the YouTube comment section. Let people get connected to me. I'm going to answer your question, sir. So the first project... Yes, sir. You can drop my WhatsApp number on the comment section for who needs help. No worries about that. Yeah. So SF Forever, sorry I didn't get your whole name. So the first project that you're going to get done from the student is, I don't know about the scenario of plastic waste bottle in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how the plastic waste bottles are recycled. So if the school would have been in India, what would I have done is, I would have asked the students to collect 1,000 plastic bottles in the next 10 days. I would have asked them to collect 1,000 plastic bottles in a span of next 10 days. And then they will be creating cube shaped, out of those plastic bottles, they are going to make cube shaped sitting chairs. It's very easy. It involves a lot of craft. It involves a lot of stationary activities. You need a sellotape, you need a sponge, you need adhesive, and you need cloth. That's it. And plastic bottles. So through 30 plastic waste bottle, you can create a very hardy cube shaped sitting chairs, like a stool. Even if you throw them from the 10th floor of your building, it's not going to break, and it's very lightweighted, and it's very easily portable. So get your students to work on this project. And once they get the first project done, boom, they are going to come to you and say, sir, we want to get the next project done as well. So it's a matter of your first project. Nilesh Bhide writes, why common man is unknown about the concept of sustainable development? Nilesh, I've already answered it through the second question of this session. Education, awareness. This is the reason why I quit my luxurious job, where I was paid 10 lakh rupees a year after 6 months. This is the reason why I quit my job. Because when I will grow up and have my kids, I don't want my kid to question me that, Papa, why didn't you do this thing for environment and wildlife? When my kid is going to watch the sad condition, the bad condition of planet Earth, what am I going to answer my kid when he is or she is going to ask me that, Papa, what do you do for environment and wildlife? I won't have any answer. I don't reach to that state. I know I'm earning less money by working in wildlife and environment. Very happy with it. But I'm happy to contribute. I'm happy to be the change. Sustainable development is something that needs to be taught in school and colleges through projects and practical implementation. Because over the course of time, people are going to forget what they read through the textbook, but people are always going to remember what they have done practically. So common man is unknown because lack of awareness, lack of talk shows, lack of education based programs, and lack of education materials in schools and colleges. This is the biggest reason. Yes, sir, we can have the next question. Anjana writes, how to stop cruelty towards dairy animals? See, I'm a half Bengali and a half Gujarati, right? And my mom is completely vegetarian, but I eat a lot of cow. Sorry, I don't eat cow. It just came out of the flow. I eat a lot of goat, I eat a lot of chicken, and I eat a lot of fish. But mostly I consume fish. But to be very honest, beef is consumed in a lot of quantity across the country, And Anjana, you just go out to the world and ask people, hey, you, stop eating cow, stop eating beef, stop eating chicken, stop eating pigs. It's very hard. See, now I'm not a complete vegan. To be very honest, I'm not a complete vegan, but I have a lot of vegan friends of mine from Gujarat who have compelled me to be on that path. So my meat consumption has reduced by around 90 to 95% in the past 1 year, and majority of my meat consumption is prawns, right? Because being a Bengali, having a lifestyle surrounding meat, right, since my childhood days, is very hard to, it's very hard to change my diet all of a sudden. But I don't consume dairy products. I don't consume products that are tested on animals. And when it comes to cruelty towards animals, again, the activism will continue, the activism should continue, right? Our voice, even if it requires 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, our voice should be consistent, our activities should be consistent, our activism should be there. Because in order to stop the cruelty towards dairy animals, the only way to do is government policies. And again, I'm going to tell the same thing. Things are going to change when we are going to have more and more educated people in our cabinet, in our government. So of course, in the end of the day, how much activism we do, things are only going to change when there is going to be proper policies, proper political and government influence on our activities. Dr. Mamita Sahu writes, why do number of species are disappearing? Now, for example, I'm a particular species. For example, my name is NIRIT. NIRIT is a species of animal, right? And for me, I stay at cool temperatures, For me, I will start suffocating if the temperature of the planet Earth rises, it goes above 30 degrees centigrades, right? And I live under the soil, right? Now the temperature of the climate is rising. I will start feeling uncomfortable. My body mechanism is going to change. Now the groundwater is getting toxified. The soil doesn't have enough nutrients. The soil doesn't have enough, enough earthworms. The soil is getting toxic. The soil is full of plastics, right? I won't be having a proper environment to survive. And when you don't have a proper environment, you don't have a proper ecosystem, you can't survive. Your population is going to go down and down and down and down and down. Poaching is also one such big reason. You talk about the Java rhino. The Java rhino, I think only 2 or 3 rhinos are left, if I'm not wrong, because of excessive poaching, because of lack of government policies. Poaching is one such big example, and loss of habitat. We are clearing away the habitat. The orangutan habitat is, getting down and down and down and down because we are cutting away the forest. The marine ecosystem is getting affected because the marine animals, the whales, the sharks, the tortoise, the squids, the octopus, they are consuming a lot of plastic from the seabed. The life expectancy is coming down. It's affecting the reproductive system. It's all human-based activities. Sangram writes, sir, in most of the schools and colleges, Eco Club and many more teams are there, but they are not able to take and make perfect decision. Exactly. Sangram, exactly this is what I've stated. It's not only about building a team. This is where your role as a leader comes into play. This is where your role as a leader comes into play. So in most of the schools and colleges, Eco Club and many more teams are there, but they are not able to take and make perfect decision to do something to the environment. How to make them become more active? Leadership. Now you bring 10 people in front of me. You bring the worst of people. I'll guarantee you, out of those 10 people, I will manipulate and play with the mindset of 8 people. Leaders are all about this and this. Your words and your actions matters a lot. So how you talk to them. See, now, Sangram, if I tell you to go and join the Indian Army or the Indian Air Force or the Indian Navy, you won't join, right? Until unless I don't give you the vision or the motivation to do so, you won't join the Indian Army or the Indian Navy or the Indian Air Force. Somebody needs to give you the vision. So if the students are not active, that means the head of the club has failed to give them a vision, have failed to encourage them, and he has failed to be a leader. So yes, that this is where they are lacking. Yeah, we can take the next question. Is there any more question left? We are going to take questions for the next 7 to 8 minutes, and then we are going to call it quits. So if there are any more questions inside your brain, just let me know. Kavya writes, first and foremost, thank you so much for an interesting session. Completely banning of plastic isn't possible. So focusing on plastic waste management would be better. What's your view on this? Of course, of course, of course. See, uh, wildlife conservation isn't only about, stopping the poachers from killing the animals or rescuing the animals. That's not wildlife conservation. Wildlife conservation involves a lot of things. That also includes plastic waste management. So there needs to be a lot of collective efforts in a lot of different directions, and plastic waste management is something that is very much important. Now, if you have a paper bag or a jute bag with you, it can be used for the next 6 months or 7 months. It completely eliminates your use of 100 to 200 plastic bags over the course of next 6 or 7 months. So again, education, awareness, and leadership is important to change the mindset of people. So plastic waste management is something which is very crucial, and it comes in under my priority. It takes a very important position, in my list of priority things to be done for environment and wildlife. Yeah. So we can have the next question. I would love people to have more and more, unique questions, crazy questions that we can answer. Why common man is unknown about the concept of sustainable development? Again, they are not aware because lack of awareness, lack of proper education materials inside the education system. How many times you have taught about environment and wildlife in deep in your school textbook or college textbook? We just used to study those subjects to score good marks, because it is very easy to score good marks, high marks in your environmental education subjects. This is the reason. 2 more questions to go. So we'll take 2 more questions and then we'll call it quits. Devabrata Das writes, if funding is not a factor, then how can I manage project assistant in a community-based conservation system? They ask money or salary. This is a problem. So there is any alternative to manage it? So I think you might be an NGO. So the thing is, I get young students to work towards it. I get young students. I have people to work in our projects who are doing a 9 to 5 job and who don't even charge any money. So you need to spot the right guy. You need to spot the right guy. And it also depends what type of projects you are doing. So if you're carrying out, field-based projects that involves, monitoring of anti-poaching activities in the forest areas, rescues, forest management, then you need a funding. You can only hire a community-based conservation system. You can only hire an assistant when you have funding. So of course, yes, funding is very important. And for funding, make sure your branding is top notch. Majority of the NGOs don't get funding because their invisibility on social media platform. You need to be very active. You need to create a good brand on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. It's very important. You need to be very consistent with your post, with your activities. You need to put up daily updates on your Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most crucial. You have to get people to give you funds. There are a lot of big corporates with CSR funds that are getting wasted every year, corporate social responsibility funds. So of course, yes, your branding is very important to get funding. But if your project can be student-based project, if you can get student-based assistance, yes, they are ready to work for you for free. Because for me, I've never paid a single penny to anybody. Neither I've earned a single penny to anybody. I've never earned a single penny through it. So whatever money that I earn is through my freelancing activities in digital marketing. And that is how I'm buying my bread and butter. Bala Kamal writes, nice talk. Great motivation, good vibes. Thank you so much. So we can take a last question. Yeah, this is my WhatsApp number. 9088012813. And yeah, this is my calling number. 8420549728. Get in touch with me. Kalai Mathi writes, excellent and wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Ramji sir, for arranging such an interesting webinar. Sounds good. But so I want to join a community. Shabina Arif from Saudi Arabia. She will connect you via WhatsApp. Definitely. And Shabina, also let me know if it is possible I can get a webinar done for your students. But I think in Saudi, there are certain rules regarding online streaming. I guess WhatsApp video calls and online streaming, I think, are not allowed. So we'll figure out a way. We will figure out a way where I can get, an interesting community-based session done for your college students, or sorry, your school students. And Shamina, you're all time welcome into my community.
Shall we conclude, sir? Sir, shall we conclude?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you all the participants. Thank you all. And the special thank to our resource person and the management and the faculty members too. Sir, you want to say anything, sir?
No, it has been a pleasure, sir, for giving me the opportunity to speak to all the students, and also make sure that I think a lot of people might not have been able to give time because a lot of people have their own schedule. And
Yes.
since it has been recorded on YouTube, of course, the replay of the link, the link of the replay can be sent to them. So it has been, it's a privilege of mine.
Always be there.
Yes, it's a privilege of mine to be a part of your webinar, and I hope that your college comes up with such good webinars in the future.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We need your
Thank
help too, sir, to build a leader.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.